Hello, this is your host, Ray Johnson, the sun, and our lovely star,
Lauren. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
We're reunited after literally distance and time because lovely Lauryn here is a graduate and I'm finishing up my senior year. It's been amazing that we still have kept in touch with our busy lives, and we're grateful to be back again.
Yeah, it's honestly a miracle. And stay tuned because you don't know what we have in store for you. And you're not going to want to miss out.
Well, I hate to spoil it for everyone, Lauren, but we're actually going to talk about AI.
Oh, no, we did spoil it. Oh, it's okay.
So we notice in our, relatively, mentally not, but our relatively young lives, how influential AI has been. Especially since for me, this last semester of professors talking about it with honor code, with, making sure you don't plagiarize, rah, yada, rah, rah, rah. How it's that much harder to tell with how certain students write generically if it's been AI or not. So they have to use things like honor lock and whatever to sift through if someone actually plagiarized or not. AI, thankfully, in our current timeline here on Earth, in this moment in 2023, has not been that advanced as to it sounding like a human, especially as far as school papers. But Meta, specifically Mark Zuckerberg, with his parent company for Facebook, is trying to change the landscape of how AI can seem human, because as prominent YouTuber Jarvis Johnson has put out a video, which inspired this topic for us, talking about how there's a knockoff Kylie Jenner, a knockoff Mr. Beast, and other prominent people like football players such as Tom Brady that are using Instagram with the aid of Facebook and all of that, how those intertwine, to have things such as Billy instead of Kylie Jenner, where you can directly chat with Billy and she is totally human. And same thing with like Timmy or whatever it is for Mr. Beast. And it's very interesting because people who are in, let's say, Generation Alpha, which is crazy to say there's another generation, it's not Gen Z or Millennial, but that's fine. They will fall prone to thinking, if they're not savvy enough with how smart AI can be, thinking that's actually a human being and it's just a new celebrity that hasn't been discovered yet. So it can be very scary if they don't consult their parents and just message these AI bots that are like, oh yes, I'm a real person, even though they've made a consensual deal with Meta saying, hey, it's okay to use my likeness as long as I get a certain amount of royalties. So at least they're, legal in that part. But as far as, having that relationship in such a way where people think that, oh, I know this person, they're a human being, they're not gonna scam me kind of thing. It can have unwarranted repercussions if it's not used carefully. So thankfully, with this new launch Facebook's done, they've somewhat seemed to be keeping an eye on it as far as making sure everyone knows this isn't real, these are their fake names, and it's listed on their site. But the wrong people can get their hands on this technology, and they actually have. In the Twitch streaming world, either earlier this year or last year, there were a lot of prominent Twitch streamers like Amaranth and Cutie Cinderella and people of that likeness that have a huge following in gaming and all sorts of things that they do, have a corn website that was AI and made in the likeness of their bodies and things like that, with their faces, so to speak, photoshopped or glued on to someone else's body. And that's clearly not okay. And the way that had leaked out for the greater community across the nation is a streamer accidentally had the tab open and he got canceled lately, showing that he had visited that site. And it's quite sad that it can get to that extent without AI being as advanced as we're assuming it will be. So that's why we're talking about things like this, because there are real world repercussions, as cool as it is to see art and inspirations for ideas when a teacher's vague with her directions. But when it comes to the likeness of someone without permission, or kind of towing the line of copyright laws and infringement and trademarks and all of that, it can be quite intimidating and scary, and clearly no one at any level of fame would appreciate that. So Lauryn also has some insight into this with our joint research on little offshoots within AI, so take it away, Star.
Oh, the floor is mine. You shouldn't have. So yeah, to piggyback off of what you're saying, yeah, AI is definitely on the rise, and I think we're definitely going to see more of it as technology continues to evolve. And what I can just say, based on my experience with it, specifically, I think it was 3 years ago. Yeah, it was my sophomore year of college, and I was in the Leadership Fellows program at High Point. And so I remember 3 years ago, it was like the spring semester, and we were divided into teams, and each team had to work with a certain company in the High Plain area. They were our clients. So my team was a law firm, and the owner of the law firm, she basically, her objective was to create an automated message system for their law firm that would be able to successfully help customers, but do it in a way that a real person would. And to be honest with you, I had mixed views on it, and I still do now to this day, in regard to the relation to AI. Because on one hand, yes, I can see where it might make the whole process easier if you have a robot or a machine directing a customer or just a client in general. But on the other hand, based on my experience with automated robots or messages, I get kind of frustrated because they're very repetitive, and I find that it's not helping me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can I please just speak to a representative, please? So,
oh, representatives! Oh my goodness, that's a whole other tangent.
Yeah, I'm sure like many of us can relate to this. I'm sure most of you have had this experience at least one point. Let's be honest. But based on the research I've done, there are actually 4 different aspects of AI, which I was going to get into. There's reactive artificial intelligence, there's limited memory, there is self-aware, and last but not least, there is, which one did I miss?
Well, self-aware is kind of what Asian countries have been doing with, those kinds of robots, and that's also kind of a scary thought,
Yeah, it is. And when I was doing research, I was trying to think of which was the most crucial aspect of AI, and I have to say now, I believe self-aware is, because self-aware AI refers to a machine's ability to interpret their own emotions and be aware of them, as well as the emotions of others around them. And it's very introspective too. And I think that's important because as humans, we have to have emotional intelligence is important, obviously. We have to understand ourselves in order to understand those around us too.
Now that I think about it, with you outlining self-aware the way that you did, which, by the way, excellent job, it makes me think about the trend that's been on the rise as of really starting last year, but more so this year, with VTubers. Now, they're actually real people, but it's kind of like in golf simulators where they track your motions. It's tracking a real-life person and just giving them a kind of anime look to them, where they don't have to show their face. Kind of like in the Minecraft community, Dream, a real person, had a real mask in front of his face to not show his identity until he revealed who he looked like and things, because he was self-conscious. Unfortunately for himself, not feeling confident in his looks. But VTubers take that to a whole level with, CGI and things like that, and all this coding programs where it's basically a little anime girl or a robotic voice that sounds cutesy. And I think that can easily, if not already, on a grander scale, elevate to where the VTuber likeness becomes that much more self-aware of it being a complete robot without the tracking or aid of a human, because they'll have so much to refer to.
Yeah, they really do. And so let me ask you this, how do you see that becoming more, I guess, prevalent in the future?
Well, if anything, it'll just increase. It's all a matter of funding and the right people, so to speak, displaying the prominence of it. I think as far as what we were saying of the different types, we usually think of self-aware and the last one I'm sure you're going to find in your notes.
Yeah, the last one I almost forgot. That was theory of mind AI.
Theory of mind, okay, interesting. Yeah, I think those two are far more, lost in space, like sci-fi things we've been kind of scared into since the 60s kind of thing, where those fanciful sci-fi movies like, oh yeah, that's just a funny, quirky, goofy thing in TV. But it's more real to life now in 2023, and certainly a few years around COVID, really, because literally we had nothing else to do but spread a virus. So why not, invest in technology and AI,
Yeah, it's one way to keep the economy going.
For sure. And, Zoom became that much more prevalent with meeting with people. So there's a way to use platforms like Zoom to further instigate AI being that much more widespread, because there could be like let's say, for what I brought up earlier, a VTuber Zoom where you see all your favorite characters and so forth. I think it's just very interesting, and I'm hoping for our sakes as well as for me, very distant future, and I know for you too, kids, like when that's a factor in our lives later down the line, just how much more technology will advance for them. And I've made this joke to myself of thinking about it, like, it's kind of like I'm a Star Trek nerd. It's kind of notorious around my friends, and I know you know this, Lauren, but I love Star Trek. And specifically Voyager, because Janeway kicks the Borg's butt. No one can debate me on that. So, it's kind of like the hologram thing they show in that series, where, they use that same technology to phase in food and stuff, and teleport in and out on their ship versus planets. And I would joke around that my future kids would probably just teleport to houses, won't even have to walk anymore, and things like FaceTime will be irrelevant because they can just go to a hologram simulator and visit Africa, and they're, still here in the United States. So, it can, I don't think it'll be that soon, obviously. I mean, I'm hoping not, for my own sanity, but it easily can get to that point. On the track we're going currently, right? I mean, what do you think?
I think so too. And that kind of reminds me of something my history teacher in 6th grade told me, like kind of similar to what you're saying. Maybe we'll we'll advance so much in technology that we'll have cars that will, in a way, they'll just be able to respond to basic commands like my beautiful Porsche, come to me, and then it just really did by itself.
Come to me, my steed. Yeah, that's interesting. Your teacher said that. Yeah. Like the Jetsons, but still on land.
Exactly.
I mean, we can't drive enough as it is already. Just in our state here at North Carolina for High Point University, I can only imagine in the air.
You really can't drive that much at all, honestly, on campus, because the parking is so limited, honestly. I remember it.
And not just that, because I took, self-defensive driving about the time I got my license, I have to slow down that much sooner because people don't know what velocity is, and I'm like, oh my god, even the vroom vroom sports car guys can't drive,
I know. And the worst part is when it rains and people just forget how to drive. I'm like,
right?
Yeah, just go back to what you learned in driver's ed. It's just rain.
And, I mean, especially when it first starts to rain, that's more dangerous than when it's pouring down rain, because that's when the oil starts to come up and kind of sit at the top of the road from all of the car's oil that gets out from the exhaust and whatever. That's when it's more dangerous, and that's when people are like, ah, it's barely raining. It's like, no, I don't want to be driving around you, They say women drivers are bad.
Yeah, it's like, people, stay focused. I mean, come on, heaven's not going to cry forever. You're
I mean, do you want to go sooner? That's fine, but I don't want you to take me with you. I still have stuff to do.
Me too. You're going to make heaven cry even worse since you don't know how to drive.
Oh my goodness. I love how we went from AI to people can't drive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, speaking of which, with what you're talking about with cars and jokingly like commanding through voice. I mean, you can do commands with drones and things, and that's pretty AI savvy-ish. And you know how Amazon's using drones in California to deliver certain packages of a certain weight, depending on how big the drone is. And I mean, with Google trying to continue to fund the cars that kind of like Elon's Teslas with certain models, you know, self-driving cars, that freaks me out because, you know, it'll probably be like a trolley problem. It's like, should we save the 3 people around us in the car, or should we save ourselves? Well, you're just one person in the car. I can tell by the weight of who's in here, so let's just die. It's like, excuse me, no. I'm driving the car, but not really, and I'd like to live in an accident scenario, so...
That way you can tell the police what happened.
Yeah, and you can't do that if the car decides, you're next, and I'm good.
You are.
Like, the Lord clearly wants me to do stuff, or else I wouldn't be this goofy and insane of a person, so I'd rather not a car decide my fate for me, thank you.
Exactly, and if we're dead, we can't stop anymore.
Right? We can't make each other laugh, and everyone else, from our crazy, crazy lives.
And we can take over the world with our superpowers.
Yes, because we're a sun and a star for a reason.
Exactly.
We're like the Power Rangers, but just the sun and the star. And wait, you like wearing black a lot, so you're black and I'm gold. Oh my god, that's like night and day. That's so cool.
I like that. Yeah, perfect.
Speaking of night and day, let's hope that AI doesn't change too progressively much from night and day. Ooh.
Hopefully not. Or if it happens, maybe it'll happen in our children's lifetimes, or not ours.
Or grandchildren, just so I don't have to like freak out about it as it's happening in real time.
Yeah, or our great-grandchildren, because by the time I come along, I will be dead, so I don't have to worry about witnessing it, experiencing it. Like, sorry, y'all are on your own. I've lived my life. I've had a good life. Now it's you got to live through this and suffer. Later.
Well,
Peace out.
Speaking of piecing out, I will display different TikTok filters I've done to see how, okay, TikTok's known my personality for a wild interest I'm in, like sailing and singing and pop culture things like Marvel. And I was curious if certain answers would be rigged to something that I would most likely like. And that'll display as well. And I'm very, very proud of Lauryn and I for getting this podcast together. Because I was on a film set in addition to the one I'm already currently editing that I've already done personally. And then, you know, Lauryn's been doing amazing things where she's been fortunate enough to go to Vegas recently, and we've somehow aligned our schedules like an eclipse or something to where we have been able to do this over the phone. So I'm very appreciative that both of our timelines have truly come together, and I've appreciated your insight, and if there's anything else you want to add, now's the time, and I will shut up.
Oh, wonderful. So, I'm excited to see, like, theory of mind AI continue to progress, because I really just love how emotionally intelligent robots are. Like, you're really interacting with a real person, and that they're capable of making, you know, legitimate decisions, and they're able to understand us and our emotions too. I can't wait to see how we're able to apply that new knowledge to, you know, to different aspects of our life, whether it's on the job or in our homes, in our personal lives. And continuing on, yes, I'm glad too that we were able to do this podcast. It's our first one in, what, a year, is it?
Yeah, this is season 4, and it feels like it's been so much longer than a year since we've done this.
I think so. Yeah, it has been a year.
On TikTok, my tombstone will say what? Nice.
I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. Another room with rats. That's made me crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room.
Crazy? I was crazy once. They put me in a wooden room with dragons. The dragons made me crazy.